Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Examiners Mr. Laode, Idrus, Hamid, S.Pd, M.Pd. Good morning, sir, and good morning for all my friends to present in this training seminar. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Rina Angriani from English Education Study Program. In this morning, I wish like to thank to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala who has given us mercy and blessing so that we can gather for a training seminar today. And salawat and salam, don't forget to always send Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and for the opportunities that has been given to me. To present my proposal with the title, The Effectiveness of Repetition Drill Technique Towards Students' Vocabulary Mastery at the Grade of SMP Negeri 16 Poleang Tengah. Well, today I will discuss three chapters. The first chapter is Introduction, the second chapter is Literature Review, and the last chapter is Research Method. The first chapter is Introduction. In this chapter, there are background the research, problem of the research, objective of the research, significance of the research, and the last scope of the research. Background of the research. Poleang in Wakida 2013 states that vocabulary is the basis of language learning, where students need to know words, their meanings, how they are spelled, and how they are spoken. This definition so that teachers or students have better master vocabulary because the vocabulary was the basic component in English. That illustrated the researchers chose junior high school and it was SMP Negeri 16 Poleang Tengah as a subject because SMP Negeri 16 Poleang Tengah they have been using English teaching as one of a lesson in the school. Based on the researchers' observation, on July 23, 2020, it was located in Pendidikan Mulino by a structured interview with the English teacher there. The researchers found some of the common problems that are appear in this class are: the first is repetition drill technique is not obeyed by the English teacher yet, especially in teaching English vocabulary. The second is the students has difficulties or don't know to mention things around them, make a simple sentence, and describe the place of things. To support all the explanation above, the researchers was interested in teaching vocabulary by drilling technique. Drilling technique refers to behaviorist approach where the students were suggested to being used with a foreign language the students learning. According to S.Pd 2006, repetition drill technique is a technique for teaching language through dialogues that emphasize the students' habit formation by repetition and memorizing vocabulary. Problem of the research. The research problem was formulated as follows: is there any effectiveness of repetitional technique towards students' vocabulary mastery at the second grade of SMP Negeri 16 Poleang Tengah? Objective of the research. The objective of this research is to obtain empirical evidence about the effectiveness of the repetitional technique towards students' vocabulary mastery at the second grade of SMP Negeri 16 Poleang Tengah. Significance of the research. The first is theoretical, to enrich the theory of awareness in vocabulary mastery. The second is the students. The finding of the research was expected to improve students' mastery in English vocabulary. The third is the teachers. The finding of this research was expected to give English teachers a reference in their learning teaching. And the last is the third researcher. The finding of this research was expected to help other researchers to enhance their reference for research in the field of teaching English vocabulary. Scope of the research. The first is applying the repetition drill technique. The second is finding the effectiveness of repetition drill technique students' mastery. The third is kinds of material where parts of the body, bird, animal, and fruit. Next chapter is literature review. In this chapter, there are previous highlights of the research, the description of vocabulary, the technique in teaching vocabulary, and the last procedure of teaching vocabulary by repetition drill technique. Previous relate researches. Bajri Amalia 2018 conducted research entitled Improving Students' Pronunciation Using Repetition Drill Technique for the Students of Grade 11 Natural Science Mount 1 Yogyakarta. The result of the research reported that indicate improvement in their pronunciation skill, particularly in terms of fluency, pronunciation, and intonation and interactive skill. While Siti Rohma 2018 conducted research entitled The Use of Ideal Method Through Repetition Drill to Improve Students' Pronunciation in Class 11 MIPA 6 at SMA Negeri 9 Semarang. The result of the research conclude that the ideal method toward repetition drill was effective to improve student ability in pronouncing. The description of vocabulary. The first is definition of vocabulary. According Hornby 2005 in Paradilla 2011, defines vocabulary is the total number of words in a language. Vocabulary is a list of words with their meaning. The next types of vocabulary. According Jackson 2002, divides types of vocabulary into two that are active and passive vocabulary. The technique in teaching vocabulary. According Takash 2008, there are some techniques of teaching vocabulary as a stat, such as using object, using illustration and picture, ellipting, and drilling. Procedure of teaching vocabulary by repetition drill technique. According to Larson, the following are procedures for teaching English vocabulary through repetition drill technique. Their procedure are as follows. The first is the researcher gave instruction to students how the steps of repetition drill technique which being studied. The second is students hear vocabulary that focuses on the topic. The third is the researchers stimulate students to recognize the material that ongoing. And the last is the students repeat each line of the words in groups and individually, and the words were memorized gradually, line by line. The last chapter is research method. In this chapter, there are design of the research, variable of the research, population and sample of the research, instrument of the research, and the last technique of collecting data. Design of the research. This research using quasi-experimental design. According to Sugiono, 2010, quasi-experimental research is one kind of the researches used to groups, namely experiment class and control class, are not randomly selected. Variable of the research. There were two variables in this research, namely dependent variable and independent variable. Dependent variable is students' vocabulary mastery, while independent variable is repetition drill technique. Population and sample of the research. Population of the research. According to Arikunto, 2013, the population was the whole subject of the research. The population of this research was all of second grade students of SMP Negeri 16 Poleang Tengah. Sample of the research. The sampling technique used in this research was purposive sampling. Purposive sampling was a technique for determining samples with particular consideration. According to Sugiono, 2015. Instrument of the research. The research instrument used the data collection instrument is the vocabulary test. There were 20 item tests in the form of multiple choice for both pre-test and post-test. And the last slide is technique of collecting data. The technique of collecting data in this research used test instruments, namely pre-test and post-test. Okay, I think enough for me. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.